taking a gap year, is that a good idea? Or is preposterous and is a strict no-no for students? That is what we are debating on Crossfire. In the studio, I'm joined by Ashwant AR, engineering student, Shivnadar University, and on my left, and I'm joined by Lavanya Sandeep, BSc Mathematics student, again from Shivnadar University. Ashwant, we'll start with you.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that, well, taking a gap year is a bad idea?
So I believe that taking a gap year is a waste of time simply because there's an added pressure on you to be more productive in that year. So when you're looking at it from the perspective of a college graduate, universities or employers look critically at what you've done in that year, or how you've utilized that year, and there's an impending doubt on how responsible of an adult you are. And if you actually end up being productive, then a gap year makes sense.
Right.
But at the same time, how many people actually utilize a gap year as productively as they'd want to?
Right.
So it's a question of that, right? Sometimes it's an excuse for people to be less productive in school or college for that matter.
Why do you believe that, well, taking a gap year is not that bad an idea, and in fact, it can help you perhaps in terms of helping you add some skills or experience to your resume? Is that what you believe?
Yeah, that's exactly what I believe, because taking a gap year, I mean, a lot of us want to pursue what we really like and what we really want to do, but we don't have a single clue about what it is.
Right.
So this kind
Which
of...
is so true. I mean, one class after another in school, then college.
You're kind of stuck in that humdrum affair and you don't get time out. So this kind of provides that breather where you can breathe, sit back and look at it. And, especially after college where you've experienced a little bit of the reality,
right,
then, you can choose what you really want to do. I mean, you can explore various subjects. And I mean, come on, when will you do this?
At the end of school maybe, or at the end of college before you go for post-graduation or start working. Well, Ashwant, she believes that, well, at that time, if utilized well, can turn out to be really productive instead of, I mean, as you were saying, being a waste of time.
Agreed that, it can be really productive, but at the same time, the most important thing about a gap year is that you're losing momentum at this point of time. One moment you're going through a rigorous schedule, and the next moment you have a lot of time on your hand, and you start losing certain habits that you've inculcated over a long period of time.
You sort of fall out of the mainstream.
Exactly. That's my point. Like skills such as critical thinking, close reading, essay writing, you become more confident as you utilize these skills and you see good results. That's when people, become more confident as individuals. And,
right,
all of this and making that transition back into all of this can be really hard. So,
right. He's saying, I mean, you can end up being in a limbo where you don't know where you're going. So while you watch TV for some time, you might have told yourself that I'll be preparing for a particular competitive exam, let's say, or I'll take this time out and I'll pursue certain hobbies, I'll reflect on my resume, etc. But that might not really happen.
That's exactly what I'm doing actually right now. I'm preparing for entrances. Yeah, I'm taking a gap year myself.
And this is for which entrance?
JAM, basically MSc. And MSc. So I'm taking a gap year right now. But with sites like Coursera, edX, and all these open courseware websites all over the place, I mean, you really are not that out of touch. Instead, you can pursue something that you put down ages ago. Maybe pick up that paintbrush that you put down for your board exams, or start learning how to play the piano.
Which I'm pretty certain you had to if you're into painting during the boards, of course, you have to. I mean, your parents will make sure, even if you don't want to.
Your computer were taken away. Your any mode of entertainment was taken away, and you were grounded, so to speak.
Right.
So, now is the time when you can do all that. You can go back to maybe learn martial arts, and I mean, it's hyped up right now. Learn a new language. It's all there.
I mean, and this is not even a dilemma which is faced by each and every student, but for those who really want to, well, they can utilize this gap year in trying to find out, well, what they really want to do. Because perhaps, I mean, were you always sure in school that you wanted to be an engineer, for instance?
Not really. But at the same time, I feel like, a gap year at the same time is a costly venture. Like your parents are still spending on you, and at the same time, they have to additionally spend on coaching classes. And it's basically an added year of expense. Mm-hmm. So furthermore, there is no economic contribution from your side whatsoever. Mm-hmm. And you're like
a burden. More like a financial planner than an engineer now, but please carry on, yes.
Yeah, so, at the end of the day, everyone has a necessity to feel relevant to society for that matter. So, I mean, like once you've lost that, sometimes it's really hard to get past that. And I feel like, despite the fact that you might be really fixed on the fact that, I'll get things done, but at times you become complacent. You start thinking, I have a year to study for the exams. Why don't I take this break, which I really need? And then slowly you spiral into and a state of uncontrollable procrastination, which can be really dangerous for you. So.
Right. Somebody's paying for it. And he's saying, well, why should your parents have to pay for another year on top of the years that you have to spend in school and college?
Well, they don't really have to. You know that there are NGOs and various things that you can do.
So
there
voluntary work and all of that, right?
Voluntary work, online jobs. There are so many work-at-home jobs nowadays
Right.
that you can take up, and you can keep yourself engaged. That's the key, right? You have to keep yourself engaged, and you have to be in that. And you know, this also develops your skills, like in terms of soft skills.
Right.
You know, you go out, meet people, interact with people, and especially for those students who are really, you know, in those reserved wala category,
Right.
this is probably one of the good things that, you know, would come out of a gap year.
Long overdue, but let me ask you this now.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to finally take a gap year at the end of your college?
You know, there was an idea of taking a gap year after school, but I dropped it then because I was pretty sure that I would waste it away.
Right.
Because after school, I really didn't have a clue of what I wanted. But now after
So it made sense being part of the cycle,
Yeah.
going to college.
Exactly,
Right.
like exploring new options and studying that.
And you think you could not have done this if you would have enrolled in a postgraduate course or if you would have started working? You can't do it simultaneously.
Not really. Research requires a full-time dedicated work. You
Right.
cannot do it while doing a job.
Ashwant, that should convince you. Because
So-
here's an example right in front of you, and she has pretty much spelled it out for you what all she's doing during this, what all she's going to be going to do during this 1 year?
Oh yeah,
And-
next 1 year.
yes.
So, I'll
So
be
this 1 year-
preparing for entrances and the projects.
How do you counter what she has said? Forget about the points you might
Yeah.
have prepared for the debate, and you might have thought that this is what I'm going to say and win the debate. But how do you sort of, what is your rebuttal?
Along the same lines, the point is that the fact that you can still figure out things right in college during the course of an academic year is still possible. And like for example, in our university, we've had the option of electives to experience and understand what it is that you really want to do, at least to a certain extent. And a lot of my friends in engineering who've realized that, engineering is not their strong suit. In that sense, a lot of people have figured out, that I want to do something with regards to economics. I want to do something with regards to public policy. So we've had that option to pick up electives and make sure that, without actually getting a gap year, you can still achieve all of that. It's just, for some people, it can turn out to be an excuse to say, with a year, I might be able to accomplish something.
An excuse. Before I sort of, because we're running short of time, so we'll have to conclude the debate. But before we do that, your rebuttal on that, it could all just be an excuse.
An excuse for what exactly? I mean, if you have
excuse for perhaps, watch more
Procrastinating.
TV, and do leisure activities, indulge yourself in leisure activities like traveling, so to speak, which a lot of people sort of, just consider it a leisure activity, while travel could really enrich. I mean, it could be an enriching experience.
Absolutely expands your views.
Well, of
But
course,
as you said, a gap year has to be utilized in the right way. It's
Right.
not like you can just twiddle your thumbs sitting at home and, everything will work out magically. That's not how life works.
Right. All right. Ashwant, I'll ask you for your concluding remarks at this point in time. So what are your concluding remarks? What do you feel?
So my concluding remarks is that, there's the fact that there's a lot of pressure on you at the end of the day when you take a gap year. And sometimes it gets you, sometimes it doesn't. Like if you've gone past that and at the end of the day you come out a successful man, good for you. But at the same time, how many people actually get past that is the question, right? So I feel like it's a safer bet to not take the gap year and actually achieve what you want to achieve.
Right.
So.
Before we wrap up, Lavanya, that's a very valid point. I mean, don't put all your eggs in one basket, as they say. So when you're taking this gap year and you're preparing for a competitive exam, if you look at the results of various competitive exams, for example, UPSC, or for that matter, ITJ, right? All these exams, the success rate is very low.
Yeah.
9 lakh students applied last year, roughly 9 lakh students for UPSC, about 5 lakh appeared. Finally, roughly 2,000 students made the cut. So that's a big gamble. How do you counter that?
So the point is that we need to realize that everybody is born with a different skill set.
Right.
And we can't afford, like with the limited time that we have in these crucial years, we can't afford to waste it away.
And you don't agree that life doesn't give you time to get back on your feet? You have to do it all while walking, while running?
You need to, okay, you may fall, but you can't stop at a certain point. You should not stop.
Right.
The point is you fall, but you get up.
Right.
So that's the point of a gap year, right? Even if you fail, you find something else. So you know that this is not you're not cut out for this.
Right. The fact remains that a gap year, whether it turns out to be a waste of time or it turns out to be an addition in terms of skills and experience on your resume, depends on what you do during that 1 year. On that note, we will conclude this debate. Thanks for watching. Until next time, goodbye.
Catch the Heads Up episodes you might have missed during the week at these times only on NDTV Prime.